One of the bigger draft controversies in recent memory was Justin Herbert and Tua Tagovailoa in the 2020 NFL Draft. And today, I'm exploring the NFL if the Miami Dolphins selected Justin Herbert over Tua Tagovailoa in that draft class on Madden 25. Now, before I make the trade go through of Tua for Herbert straight up, here is a look at the roster. The Dolphins have two of the best receivers in the league in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, a great running back in Devon Achane, a very good tight end as well in Jonnu Smith, but the offensive line needs a ton of work. And Teron Armstead, he did retire after this past year, so he is off our books, which is cool for this rebuild, but he was also like the only real good player we had on the entire line. That does hurt. And then defensively, it's a bit rough as well. We have Jalen Ramsey, who is still one of the best cornerbacks in the league, but our defensive line desperately needs some help. Our linebacking core outside of Jordan Brooks is often injured, and Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. Luckily, injuries are turned off for this. But Chubb is also making a ton of money. I might look to actually move him this offseason. Poyer is very old. We're not going to bring him back. And Javon Holland, I don't think I want to pay him a ton of money either. But we have $32 million in cap room, and here are all of our players that are heading to free agency. I already just talked about Holland. He can walk. Kader Kohu is a good nickel cornerback, so I do think I want to bring him back on a relatively small deal, and he's going to sign with us, so that is awesome to get him back in the fold. Tyrel Dodson was a good player for the Dolphins when they signed him mid-season last year in real life, but I'm going to try and give him an offer. He doesn't really have a ton of interest in returning, so I don't really expect it. And yeah, he's going to leave. And really outside of that, I think I'm fine letting every single one of these other players leave. Just not really a ton of good talent left to bring back and invest money into. So I have the trade set up, and I know it's going to go through because I have the trade simulator on very easy. Obviously, this is not realistic. The Chargers would not do this trade. But again, this is just a fun concept of a video that I'm trying to do here today. So Tua for Herbert straight up, it goes through. Now it's time to begin the process of each of these guys on opposite teams here. Now, obviously I want to change the trade difficulty back to just normal. So if we make any trades going forward, we don't really have to worry about that. But with all that said, Justin Herbert is officially a Miami Dolphin, and now it's time to build out this roster and really fortify the trenches on both sides of the ball. Unfortunately, now we only have $10,000 in cap room because of Tua's dead cap number, but I think I'm going to try and trade away like Bradley Chubb and a couple other veterans now as we approach the midst of the offseason. Chubb has no offers whatsoever, which I don't blame any team. I mean, he is a very high-priced player for not a ton of production. I guess every team in the league does not need a right outside linebacker, but instead a left outside. So I'm just going to change his position to left outside, and now we'll see if we can get any offers. And the first trade I'm going to try here is with the Chicago Bears. They have a decent amount of interest in Chubb, and for a 5th-round pick, we'll see if we can salary dump him here, and it's going to go through just like that. So now I think maybe we could have gotten like a 3rd or a 4th, but you know what? We'll be realistic and just take our 5th-round pick. The Dolphins did also cut Kendall Fuller and a couple of other players on the roster in real life, so I'm just going to do that now and kind of take on the penalty. Longtime running back Raheem Mostert was also a release, so we're going to get rid of him as well. And their final cut, I think, so far was Durham Smythe. So these are the 3 players that they cut, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And now we're going to check how much salary cap we have. I don't think it's still going to be a ton. And we officially only have $6.83 million. I don't think that's going to be enough to sign any player. So I think we're going to have to skip out on free agents this year, kind of use this as a transition year. Now here in the NFL draft, I'm going to do something a little bit controversial, but it's a fun pick, something that I haven't done in any of these offseason rebuilds quite yet. And that is take Tyler Warren here out of Penn State. I know the Dolphins really need help on the interior of their offensive line and just anywhere on the defensive line. But this draft class is really deep in day 2 and day 3 with some of those prospects. And with Tyreek Hill and Jonnu Smith both getting up there in age, and maybe we can trade one of them, I do think we need to get Herbert a weapon for the future, and I think that could be Tyler Warren here out of Penn State. So he's only a round 1 talent, which is interesting, but I guess we can take a look at his metrics. I don't know how good he is going to be on the sim. And okay, so number 9 in true value is actually better than I thought it was going to be. 85 speed, 89 acceleration, just an all-around beast. And here, pick number 13 in the 2nd round, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. We still have Josh Connerly Jr. from Oregon, and I think he's going to be the pick. I've had him selected in a couple of my offseason rebuilds, and he grades out to be a pretty good player, develops well, and now he's going to join the Dolphins. So he is 82 in true value, which is definitely not great, but I mean, hidden dev 84 strength, has pretty good movement skills for his size. I do like this pick as one of our future tackles. In the 4th round, I'm going to take a flyer on this pass rusher here, Kamen Rucker from North Carolina, 6'2", 265 pounds. May have to move him to off-ball linebacker. Don't know what that size, if he will be great off the edge, but he has pretty good physicals. That's really all I draft for here in the draft, especially like day 3. And his true value is not great, 155, and he is normal dev. So not a great selection here. Maybe he can develop into being a depth player for us moving forward, but definitely not what you want to see. Gonna go another offensive lineman here, a right guard from SMU, Logan Parr. Again, really good movement ability. His strength is not great, but again, for the Dolphins scheme, this actually should fit fairly well. Hoping that one of these guys can be pretty good, and oh my goodness, he is really, really bad in true value. Normal dev as well. I think we just took another generational bust. I don't know why Darian Porter from Iowa State is still on the board. I guess his skills aren't great, but I mean, he has elite speed, elite jumping, great acceleration. I'm really a sucker for these physicals. I'm going to take him again. And he was 156 in true value, so a pretty good 5th round pick. I mean, okay, this is actually a really good pick here. Hidden dev in crazy athleticism. He is 24 years old, so maybe he doesn't develop a ton, but should maybe be a solid NFL corner. We're also going to potentially get our Tyreek Hill replacement here, and Taz Johnson, elite acceleration, elite speed, a very finesse player, but again, we're just kind of going for speed here, and he's kind of got that Tyreek Hill prototype. 126 in true value is only normal dev, but 96 speed, 96 acceleration. He could potentially develop down the line for us and be a starting receiver once Tyreek Hill retires or we get rid of him. And I'm not going to lie, the draft recap is pretty rough. I mean, Tyler Warren is a really good player. Connerly's going to be good as well. But man, not another 70 overall. I mean, I would say a lot of those picks were in the 5th and 7th round. Maybe Johnson, Porter, and Rucker can develop into being rotational players for us, but man, for right now, it looks pretty rough. And I'm not even going to lie to you, this is going to be a really big uphill battle. This team is looking really rough in the first year of our rebuild. I think it might be time to trade away Tyreek Hill and just get some value because we need so many holes filled. I went ahead and moved Austin Jackson to right guard, put Patrick Paul at right tackle so we can start both Paul and Connerly, get them reps, and hope they can be our tackle duo moving forward. The defense, though, is looking really rough. We have our rookie Porter, who's probably going to be playing for us a lot this year. Our safety duo of Patrick McMorris and Nick Needham, probably the worst in the league. We have Channing Tindall, who Dolphin fans know a ton about. He is starting at middle linebacker too, and he's abysmal. And the defensive line. Both of these guys are rookies that we just drafted, and they're not very good. Now, I just don't think we're going to be very competitive this upcoming season, so I'm going to trade away Tyreek Hill. He has been in a ton of trade rumors in real life, so I think this could be pretty realistic. I don't know about the Carolina Panthers, but they're offering me J.C. Horn and 3 picks, so I'm going to try and get this trade through, and we're going to get a very good cornerback. Still young, fairly cheap, in 3 picks, and now we can look to see if maybe Ramsey could be on the move. The Steelers are going to offer their former first-round pick Troy Fautanu, who did suffer a season-ending injury last year, and then again, multiple picks. Again, I'm just going to take this, get rid of Ramsey. The Steelers want to make another addition to their defense, and we're going to get some help on the offensive line and a lot of draft capital as well. And the last trade I want to make very quickly is with Jonnu Smith. We drafted Tyler Warren. We're not going to extend Smith after this season anyway. Why not get back a young cornerback who can at least be serviceable for us in Deonte Banks? So we're going to make this go through, and we add another piece to our secondary and get rid of an expiring older player again. And through the midseason point, we are 2-5. So honestly, pretty much what I expected, maybe even worse. I know we're going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. We just do not have talent. But I guess we can take a look at players ready to negotiate. We have $116 million in cap room for next season, which is huge. J.C. Horn, he does have interest in returning to our team, so we're going to give him a good contract. And the same could be said for Jalen Phillips, and he has interest as well in returning, which is awesome. Phillips really hasn't developed as much as he probably should have or could have if he did not suffer those 2 severe injuries in back-to-back seasons, but we are going to get him back. He's been a very solid player for us. And Tindall and the rest of these guys, yeah, I just don't want you guys. We end the season going 6-11, and every unit on our team was abysmal outside of our pass defense, which I think is mainly because we were behind in a lot of games, so teams just stopped passing. Well, let's go and take a look at the stats for the season and see how Justin Herbert performed, and then Tua Tagovailoa with their first season on different teams. Now, Herbert was pretty good, 3,700 yards, 33 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. Obviously, the turnovers are a little bit high, but think we're playing from behind in a lot of games, and the supporting cast really wasn't there in our first year. Rushing wise, Achane at 808 yards and 5 touchdowns. Receiving wise, Tyler Warren over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns as a rookie. And Tez Johnson actually cooked. I don't know why Jalen Waddle just did nothing in our offense this year. That's really weird, but hey, our 2 rookies really balled out. And then defensively, I'm kind of scared to take a look at this. It looks like Jalen Phillips had a really good season with 9 sacks. Our rookie Rucker had 7, which is actually really impressive for his development. Chop Robinson did not have a great year 2 campaign, and picks-wise, we just had no forced turnovers. I guess our rookie, it kind of seems like all of our rookies kind of balled out this year. An interception. Now, Tua Tagovailoa in his first year with the Chargers had a pretty efficient year. 3,900 yards, 37 touchdowns to 15 picks. So low-key, year number 1 went to Tua in terms of production, and Ladd McConkey had one hell of a year, 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns. The Buffalo Bills beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl 27-21, and we did not take home Offensive Rookie of the Year. That went to Isaiah Bond, who went to the Cincinnati Bengals. Interesting fit there. Now, last look at our players. I'm not going to accept the 5th-year option on Deonte Banks. Just don't think I want to pay him that much money for 1 year. He's been a solid player, but hasn't really earned that 5th-year option. And then the rest of these guys, yeah, we already talked about it. Going to let them walk. Now, there are some pretty good free agents, including Khalil Shakir, who has a lot of interest in leaving the Bills to play for the Dolphins. But before I sign him, I do want to take a look at the progression of like Tez Johnson and see if we really should pay second receiver a lot of money, because we still have Waddle. Tyler Warren, I'm pretty sure, had a really good season, and he's up to a superstar 86 overall. Tez Johnson's all the way up to a 77, so I think maybe we should still pay him. Then Tez can kind of have more of a role on the team instead of being our true wide receiver too. So why don't we give Shakir a contract and then have him, Waddle, Johnson, and Warren. So Shakir, going to give him a player-friendly deal, the first contract we are offering in free agency this rebuild. I think DeMarcus Lawrence on a 1-year deal is fine, because I do want to make the playoffs next year, or at least be close to it. So getting just some experience to hold down the fort on the defensive line, I'm fine with. There really isn't any upgrades on the interior of the offensive line, so we're just going to forget about that. But defensive tackle, I think Poona Ford could be a fine addition on a 1-year deal as well. I think 36-year-old Levante David on another 1-year deal should be fine. And then free safety and strong safety, there's not really a ton of options. I think we can give Evan Byard a deal. I mean, just all of these guys, I just need them to be serviceable and just stopgaps for 1 year. We have a lot of draft picks the next 2 drafts, but we're not going to be able to have good starters in all these positions right away. So just getting some solid veterans to kind of fill into these spots, I think could do us well to maybe make a playoff push this upcoming year. Now, we did get Khalil Shakir and really every other free agent I offered outside of DeMarcus Lawrence. I guess I'll just offer the same contract to Malcolm Kuntz, a 2-year deal. That's fine. And then that should probably be it for free agency. In the NFL draft, really the method is just BPA. We're going to take the best player every single pick here, and it starts with Pat Cash out of Stanford in the secondary, and he could develop as our cornerback 1 alongside JC Horn. So top 5 talent here, and he was number 5 in true value, 96 speed. This guy might become one of the best corners in the league. I don't see anything on the board I love, so I'm going to turn this 2026 second-round pick into a first rounder next year with the Seattle Seahawks. And a part of the reason I did make that trade is we do have the 7th and 9th pick in the second round. And the first one I'm going to use here is Eric Radigan, a defensive tackle, just trying to beef up the interior of that defensive line. And yeah, it doesn't look like it was a great pick again. Normal value, 91 strength. I got to lock in. We don't really need a linebacker, but this Peter Cox guy, he looks insane. Elites all across the board and great change of direction. I'm not going to think twice about this one. Just going to select him. And he was 103 in true value. He is hidden dev. He does have some very good metrics and good size for a linebacker. Maybe it has to do with positional value, but I thought he was going to be like generational. I think Trevor Middlebrooks here is a solid safety prospect. He's over 6'2", has pretty good physicals all across the board. Gonna take him here, and he looks pretty good, number 57 in true value, and his metrics all really solid, and he is hidden dev, so could develop into being a pretty good starter for us. Gonna go back to the safety well because Jamie Bullard here has good speed, great strength, elite agility. I think this guy, again, could be a really good safety prospect, and we're going to take him here in the 3rd round, and he was 51 in true value, so could have just gotten our 2 safeties Moving forward, although he is a normal dev here, which is interesting, but still really good metrics. Gonna go back to the defensive line with Jonathan Scroggins here. He's 6'3", 268 pounds from Florida State, and he's got great speed as well, great acceleration. I think he could be a pretty good player for us here in the 4th round, and I'm just hoping we can get a gem here in day 3, and he's 158 in true value. He's again normal dev, and that's gonna be the last pick I make. I'm gonna let the CPU take over because I'm ice cold right now. And the draft recap is decent. I mean, we have potentially 5 starters here. I think if you draft somebody and they're in the low 70s, they should theoretically develop into being a starting caliber player. So I'm happy about that. Day 3, though, we really struggled to find really any value whatsoever, but pretty deep draft class, and I'm happy that at least we're going to get a couple of starters, especially on our defense, because we really need it. But here's the roster heading into year number 2. The offense looks a lot better already with Shakir, Waddle, Tez Johnson, and Tyler Warren as our main weapons, and Devon Achane as well. The offensive line is really coming together with Josh Connerly and Troy Fatanu as our tackle duo, and the interior is still kind of a work in progress, but at the moment, it's at least a solid and serviceable interior of the offensive line. And defensively, we have a couple of big decisions to make, and we could start like both of our young safeties. We could put in Cox instead of Levante David, but I think I'm going to roll with the veterans in year number 1. Let these guys kind of just sit on the bench, get some more development that way, and then next year we'll put them in the lineup. And through the mid-season point, we're doing worse than last year. We're 0-6 somehow, and our offense is absolutely abysmal, and so is our defense. What is going on? In the meantime, we have $127 million in cap room and a ton of players to bring back, starting off with Devon Achane. Definitely want him back on a 4-year deal. I'll sign that for fairly easily. Now at corner, I don't think we need to bring back both Deonte Banks and Kohu. Banks is cheaper. I think he can be as good as Kohu in a couple of years, and he's 2 years younger, so we're going to offer Banks a contract. Jordan Brooks has no interest in returning. I will offer him a contract right now, but it doesn't seem good for him coming back. Maybe could try find a way to trade him. I mean, he's very unhappy with us not being a winning team. Zach Sealer is still a very solid player for us. He only wants a 1-year deal though, so I think we'll just do that for now. Austin Jackson does not want to return. Aaron Brewer does. I want to keep him just in case we can't find a long-term answer at the other positions on the interior of our offensive line. And I think outside of that, I'm fine letting the rest of these guys walk at the moment. And we end this season with a 4-13 record, worse than we did last year, with way more talent. The Madden sim engine is so laughable. And Herbert was okay, 3,500 yards, 24 touchdowns, 212 picks on the ground. Devon Achane, fairly good season again. I think I just need to find the correct playbook, and Shakir had a good season. Warren had a good season. Waddle just continues to just not be a big part of our offense for whatever reason. The offensive line was a lot better this year, looks like. Defensively, 8.5 sacks for Poona Ford, 7.5 sacks for Phillips. We got more picks as well this year. I don't really know why we're worse. Just kind of your typical Madden sim cheese, but it is what it is. We're going to have one of the top picks in the draft, and actually another first-round pick from Seattle, so hopefully they didn't do too well. And it looks like they made the playoffs, so that's not going to be a great pick. I guess we should also check how Tua Tagovailoa did, and it wasn't great. 3,200 yards, 23 touchdowns to 11 picks. I actually think Herbert takes year number 2. The Eagles won another Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens. Jalen Hurts, another Super Bowl MVP. Now here's a look at the progression for our entire starting lineup. Waddle lost his dev trait upgrade. He's down to star now. I want to take a look at the rookies that we had, and Cash was a superstar X Factor, which is crazy. Cox was only a star dev, and Bullard, he did not progress up at all, and Middlebrooks was only star. So kind of disappointing, and we also do see that Zach Sealer, he lost his dev as well. We have $102 million in the salary cap. I am going to accept the 5th-year options on Robinson and Fatanu. We already talked about Kader Kohu. I'm going to let him leave. And Jordan Brooks still has no interest. Austin Jackson still has no interest. So we're just going to head into free agency again. A ton of holes to fill again. And this free agent class isn't great. Frank Ragnow, I'm going to offer him a player-friendly deal. I think we could just use an upgrade on the interior of our offensive line. I do think Tremaine Edmonds can be brought in now. I don't love a 4-year deal, but we're going to have to do it because we need another middle linebacker, and we are going to lose Jordan Brooks. So we're going to try and sign him. And then again, just trying to go back to the well with some of these experienced veterans, and hopefully it works better for us this year than it did last year. I think Ezra Cleveland to replace Austin Jackson as our left guard makes a ton of sense for us. I think getting Jermaine Johnson on a 3-year deal could be a good contract as well for us. Unfortunately, Ragnow decided to go to the Tennessee Titans, so we're not going to be able to get him. We did get Ezra Cleveland, so that's a slight upgrade on the interior of our offensive line, but again, missing out on the top free agent. Don't love it. Now, I didn't know this, but we actually have the #1 pick in the draft, and I honestly don't love the way that the top of the board looks. Like, there's a really good strong safety and left tackle, but I feel pretty good about both of those positions. I might try and trade back and get an absolute haul. And the Minnesota Vikings are going to offer us 3 first-round picks in a second, and the Buccaneers as well. Okay, so I think we're going to trade this pick because we're getting some insane value. I think I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offer because we're moving back to 13, so we could still probably get a good player. And then multiple other first and multiple other seconds. I think it's just the best offer on the board. We're going to do it. And this draft just doesn't seem great. I think Stephen Lashley could be the best player, 6'5", 267. Pretty good physicals, but again, just not really jumping off the screen for me. But I'm going to take him here. He was 52 in true value. Not a great pick, but I guess he does have hidden dev, 88 strength. But again, not a great first selection, it looks like. This James Covington guy looks really good. Another linebacker here at the end of the first round. Not going to double think this one. Just going to take him, and hopefully he's a really good player. And he's 13 in true value. 91 speed we just found. The new captain of our defense. I was thinking about maybe just getting this tight end because he looks really good. And he looks so good, I'm just going to do it. I know we have Tyler Warren, kind of a weird pick, but maybe we can just do 12 personnel. He is 100 in true value. And oh my goodness, he's normal dev. Why was his physical so good if he's just not going to be just a generational player? I'm getting fooled like a fiddle in today's rebuild. Why not go back to the defensive tackle well here? See if we can get a good player. Dwayne Reed, not feeling very confident, but just going to try my luck. And 124 in true value. This is just getting bad. I'm going to make one more pick and then let the CPU take over because this is just getting pretty embarrassing here. I'm going to take this center that I did scout a little bit. It should be Tracy Connor here, I believe, from USC. You guys see what I'm seeing. Elite agility, elite strength, good speed. I mean, how would this guy be a bad player? They're going to take him to be our center of the future, and he's 87 in true value, but he's hidden dev. Pretty good. But I'm going to let the CPU take over now. Very scared to check this draft recap, but we're going to have to do it. And our first player is a 74 overall. Covington is a 77. The tight end we drafted, he's okay, 72. Reed is all right. Our center is okay. And then the CPU drafted some decent flyers for us in day number 3, but really nothing special. Overall, though, a pretty solid draft class. And hopefully in the next couple of years with so many picks from Tampa, we can really build out the rest of our roster, really go on a championship run here. And here's the roster heading into year number 3 of the rebuild. We're an 85 overall now, 87 overall offense. It's looking really, really good. Kind of what it was last year. We really couldn't do anything. So if you have any playbook advice for me, leave it in the comment section because I could desperately use it. The defense looks a lot better and a lot younger as well. A really nice cornerback duo with Cash and Horn. Cox and Covington is going to be a great middle linebacker duo. We need one of these pass rushers to develop, whether that's Phillips or Robinson, maybe Gilmore, who we just drafted. I did also get ourselves a veteran safety, Jair Brown. So our defense should be better this year than what it was last year. I still think we probably need 1 to 2 more impact players on defense. So whether that's somebody developing here at linebacker, maybe trading picks to get someone because we have a boatload of draft capital moving forward. But here's the roster and hopefully we can do better this year. Finally, we're seeing a little bit of success. We're 5-1 through the midseason point. Our offense is the best in the league and our defense as well is actually playing really good football. So honestly, a really encouraging start. And I changed our offense back to Mike McDaniel's playbook, so maybe that helped us out a little bit. We don't really have a ton of players to re-sign. We only have $44 million in cap room for next year, but Patrick Paul has no interest, so I will let him walk. I think Jalen Wright, and this is kind of just the Dolphins draft class of 2024. All these guys are up for deals. Probably just going to let all of them walk, really just focus on maybe some of these veterans, but I don't think I want any of these guys back. They really haven't been any impactful players for us at all. Well, we end the season 11-6, but on a losing streak, losing to the Browns and Titans to end the year. I don't love that, but we are at least going to be hosting a playoff game as the number 3 seed. But finally, after all this trouble to make the postseason, We finally did, and Herbert had his best season yet, 3,900 yards, 31 touchdowns, 2 picks. Devon Achane was over 1,000 yards and 17 touchdowns. Receiving-wise, Shakir balled out. Waddle had his best season. As Johnson just keeps being a solid wide receiver 3 for us. But Tyler Warren in the McDaniel offense had his worst season to date. The offensive line was really good this year, and defensively, oh my goodness. I saw that Phillips had 19 and a half sacks. He probably just skyrocketed with his rating, but man, that was actually a huge defensive scheme for us change. Pat Cash, he cooked. Covington and Cox, our linebackers, are really, really good. I'm excited about our defense. The offense looks relatively the same. Our offensive line continues to just get marginally better as these years go by. Defensively, though, I want to see the devs. And okay, so Covington is only normal dev, which sucks. But Gilmore, I think this was the pass rusher we took. Is Superstar X Factor? I don't know if this is just a glitch or something, but he's a 6 foot, 250 pound outside linebacker. In the meantime, though, let's see if we can get ourselves our first playoff win of the video. And so far, it's looking pretty good. 7-3. We're moving it again against this Texans defense. 14-3 on our home turf. 14-10 now. But Justin Herbert, he is determined to win the Dolphins their first playoff game since the year 2000. I think we're in 2027 now. So it's been even a lot more years since real life. But again, we're just dominating the Texans up front. They cannot stop our offense, and we're going to put up 31 on them at home in the first playoff game of this rebuild. And can we add some more points to the total? We're going to get to 34. So 34-20, and we take care of business. Kind of worried, and Herbert's actually rocking number 0. That's really, really interesting. But Herbert gets his first playoff win of his career. What are they going to say now, Herbert? What are they going to say now? Our second round matchup is going to be against the Indianapolis Colts, who defeated the Browns 31-28. I don't know who their quarterback is, and it's a random. Stephen Wallace here from Washington State, and Cleveland's quarterback is Jalen Milroe. He had 3 picks, 3 touchdowns. That's kind of funny. But let's see if we can pull off the upset on the road here against the Colts. A quick little trivia and note for you here. The last Dolphins playoff win in real life was against the Colts. So maybe it's kind of destiny for us to move on to our first championship game in quite some time against them as well. But we're getting shelled so far, 14-3. Let's hop in here and see this revamped offense with Shakir, Warren, Hez Johnson, and of course, Justin Herbert rocking number 0. But here we go, right up the seam to Tyler Warren, who looks like a stud. And we're inside the red zone. See if we can find Waddle here in this little post. I'm not going to force it. Going to throw it underneath to Hez Johnson. He holds on. It's a 4-point game. Now can our defense hold before half? It looks like they do. And again, we're moving it. Can we take the lead? We do. 14-17. The Colts tied up. Let's try and make something happen again here on 3rd and 7. I see Waddle across the formation, wide open. Juke for Waddle on the outside, and Waddle another juke. We're inside the red zone again. And let's see if we can watch now Herbert get us into the end zone. We're going to bring out Achane out wide. Man, that's a scary combination for defenses with all that weaponry. But Herbert underneath here to Achane for 5 yards. Going to line up under center now, bring, I believe, Shakir in motion. And it is going to be a run to Achane. He has a nice push up front. Breaks a tackle in Achane inside the 3. Going in shotgun here on 2nd and goal. Just need 4 yards. It's going to be a handoff to Achane, and he should have bounced that outside. It's 3rd and goal now. I think we got to put the ball in Herbert's hands here. Let him make a play. Trying to get the Dolphins to the AFC Championship game. And Herbert fires. Tyler Warren, touchdown. The Colts, though, moved it right down the field. And it's tied. But let's, again, watch this. Justin Herbert has the Dolphins in scoring position. Oh, he threw a laser, but he's out of bounds. Now it's 3rd and 7. This is a big play. To continue to run the clock. Maybe use the Colts to force them to use their timeouts. And Herbert is going to take a sack here. Indianapolis did use a timeout. So now we have a fairly long and important field goal. And this one is good. And now let's see if this new look defense can get a stop. Jalen Phillips, one of the best pass rushers in the league this year. We need a play. The Colts now at the 40-yard line. Still have plenty of time and 2 timeouts. Their quarterback underneath here. It's incomplete. Peter Cox with the deflection. We did get some pressure there. That's really the key. We just need to force 1 negative play. We need Jalen Phillips to get home. Over the middle. Laser from Wallace. And the Colts do not use a timeout, but they got up very quickly And their quarterback again is firing outside the numbers here. Should have been picked. But our free agent pickup, Jair Brown, on the coverage. And now it's 2nd and 10. And Jalen Phillips get a sack. And oh my goodness, another throw underneath, and our defense is in some trouble here. Indianapolis is in no rush now. They have a minute, 2 timeouts at the 17-yard line. Can we force a turnover? Another underneath throw here for 6 yards. 2nd and 4, scanning the field. Chop Robinson almost got there, but the pass is broken up. And now this is a big play. The Colts, if they get this first down, have a couple of shots at the end zone. If not, we're going to get a chance to win it. And it's underneath. They gave him the first down, Colston Loveland. And now we're kind of in some trouble here. 37 seconds. The Colts have a timeout underneath here, and he's going to be short. The Colts do not use a timeout. They're going to pass it again here. And their quarterback back in the end zone. I think he stepped out of bounds, so they're actually going to lose 5 yards there. Legal touching. I don't know why they didn't move back at all. Seems a little bit unfair there, Madden. But they're still at the 1, 3rd and goal. It is going to be a run. Jonathan Taylor scores. And here is likely the last play of the game. 5 seconds. Herbert trying to find somebody. Launches deep. Herbert. There's a flag on the play. Could we get another Hail Mary potentially? It's going to be pass interference on the defense. We do have one more play here. And here's your classic Madden sim. The game is completely frozen. So now we got to restart it. I guess I'll just hand myself the automatic L. I wanted to see that Hail Mary attempt. But there goes Madden for you. Such a poorly made game. So I guess restarting the game gave us a chance to go back to 5 seconds to go. So we're not going to get the pass interference, but can we get blessed here with a beautiful Hail Mary? And Herbert is in a launch deep. He has somebody open. It was Waddle. It's incomplete. Game over. Dolphins lose. The Colts went on to win the Super Bowl, so I feel a little bit better about us not being able to beat them, but we did not win Defensive Player of the Year with 19.5 sacks. That's wild. Last league of players to re-sign, Tyler Warren, obviously going to accept his 5th-year option. And yeah, again, all these other players for us can hit free agency. I think Zach Sealer at 76 overall, 32 years old, probably just feel better moving on from him. I guess we can bring back our specialists. They were pretty good for us in that playoff game. Bear Barn hit that clutch field goal to give us the go-ahead lead. So I guess we'll re-sign them and then head into free agency again. I did also forget to show Tua's stats in year number 3. And yeah, it wasn't great. 16 picks, 3,800 yards. I think Herbert takes another year away from Tua in the head versus head statistical matchup. Now, on the offseason agenda, I think we need to get one more interior offensive lineman. I think weaponry and at tackle were pretty good. I think we could go for a defensive tackle or right end. It might be our first pick in the draft. But then really outside of that, just BPA. If we see any top end free agents, just sign them. Try and just get this talent even better than an 85. And somebody like Jahmyr Gibbs, I know that we do have Devon Achane, but I think if we can just offer him a crazy deal, he could be a huge difference maker for us. So I'm going to offer it. We'll see if he does accept. I do think Aleem McNeil makes a ton of sense as well at defensive tackle. I'm going to offer him a massive 4-year deal. And if these 2 Lions players sign with us, that's kind of all of our salary cap at the moment. Gibbs decided to sign with the Cincinnati Bengals, but we did get Aleem McNeil. So that is a really good get for us on the defensive side of the ball. I do want to see if I can get ourselves Dylan Parham as a replacement for Patrick Paul on the interior of our offensive line. And we do, in fact, get Parham. So I think we're pretty good now. We can move on to the draft and address some more needs. And here with the 7th overall pick, I mean, look at these drafts. I mean, we have a day 3 prospect here. Like, are you kidding? I saw this defensive tackle, and I mean, we just signed McNeil on a huge deal, but this guy looks like the best player on the board, so I'm just going to draft him, maybe move him to one of those edge positions, and 16 in true value. I will take hidden dev, 88 strength, 82 acceleration. Pretty good pick. Don't really need a strong safety. Maybe can move one of them to the nickel, because we do have a kind of an influx now of safeties the last couple of years. But this is the best player on the board, number 8 in true value. Tyron Noble here, 92 speed, 88 acceleration. Really good pick, actually. Gonna go Chris Hunt here from Ohio State. Looks like the best pass rusher on the board. Just throwing more darts at the dartboard, trying to get some influx of talent on our defensive line, and he was actually another really good pick. Somehow, the number 24 player in the draft is normal death. You got to be kidding me. This guard looks really good. Elite strength, great speed. If you're a guard and you have elite strength, really good speed, you better be good. And this kid is 22 in true value. He is hidden dev. Probably just found a Pro Bowl guard. Love to see it. And the draft recap is really good. And this is big because we kind of need some players now to get us over the hump. Chris Gaddis is a 77 overall. Noble is an 80. Hunt is a 76. This guard is a 76. And the CPU even found a 77 overall running back in round number 5. And here is the roster heading into year number 4. The offense looks roughly the same. Kind of going with a youth movement on the offensive line, starting Connor, who we drafted last year, and Kramer, who we selected in this year's draft. But the offense is really sound all across the board. And then the defense is going to continue to get better and better and better. We have Noble now starting at strong safety. I moved Middlebrooks to just probably our nickel cornerback this year. The defensive line is a lot better with McNeil, Lashley in year number 2, and Gaddis now. I moved him from defensive tackle to right end. The linebacking core with Covington, Cox, Phillips, and Chop Robinson is really solid. And overall, we're 85 across the board, and hopefully we see some more development this year because our team is still very young. And through the midseason point, we are 4-2. So an interesting beginning to the year. Our offense is kind of mid. I changed to the Chiefs offense this year and not performing well. Our defense is as well. So not a great beginning of the season, and the Jets and the Bills are both good. So it's going to be a challenge to also win the division this year. We've got $98 million in cap room, but we have a ton of players to re-sign, starting with Chop Robinson, getting a 6-year deal. Not going to sign it right away, but he will eventually. It always happens. Connor Lee, a really solid left tackle. I want to sign him to an extension. He will. Jalen Waddle's been pretty disappointing for us, but he's just been a core piece. Going to sign him to a 3-year deal. Jalen Phillips as well has really earned himself some money the last couple of years. He's not going to sign right away either, but I think he'll be back. Troy Fatanu, very solid right tackle for us. He's going to sign. And just like that, we have $7.5 million left. I don't think I'm going to spend money on Tez Johnson. We already have so many weapons. Ezra Cleveland is interesting. We do have enough money for a 1-year deal, so I'm going to offer that to him, and he will sign. But for now, that's all the moves that we can make. Deonte Banks, probably don't need him back, actually, with moving our safety to the cornerback spot. And then Lucas Van Ness up in the air as well. But I think for right now, good amount of moves done. And the Miami Dolphins in the regular season, 12-5, the best record so far this rebuild. It looks like the offense took off a little bit down the stretch, and our defense just got to about league average, which is still not great. I don't really understand why, but hey, our offense did a lot of the heavy lifting, and it looks like Herbert had the best season probably of his career. He threw for 4,500 yards, 45 touchdowns to 12 picks. This is the Herbert I'm talking about. I guess quickly we'll take a look at Tua and see what he did for the Chargers this year. And yeah, nowhere close to what Herbert did. So another year in the books for Herbert in the head-to-head matchup against Tua. Achane, 915 yards, pretty good year for him. Receiving-wise, Waddle, Shakir, Tez Johnson, and Warren all cooked, and Shakir had 21 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? The offensive line was pretty good this year. Our center, who is a rookie, did struggle, but that's all right. It happens. Defensively, it doesn't look like we had nearly anywhere close to the same production from Phillips and Robinson this year. I did change, I think, to the Ravens defense. I think I was the Steelers defense last year. So maybe that was a mistake changing. I don't really know what I'm doing. I just tried to experiment and find a playbook that works. But Peter Cox had a great season. Middlebrooks, his first year in the slot for us, had a good season. Pat Cash, one of the best corners in the league. We did force a lot of turnovers, but not a ton of sacks. We still are only the number 3 seed in the playoffs, so we are going to have a decently hard matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders in round number 1, and then maybe face off against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Arrowhead Invitational in round number 2. That's going to be a tough one, but first, we got to take down another AFC West team. A night game here at Hard Rock Stadium, and the Raiders are making a statement on their opening drive, making it 3-0, but Herbert answers pretty quickly, and we're going to score another touchdown. It's 14-3, but they score again, and they're actually going to take the lead. Our defense is really struggling to stop the Raiders. I guess we'll take a look at the offense, which has been so lethal this year. We're going to loft one up down the field to Shakir. It's incomplete. We did convert the field goal, though. It's 24-24. I really don't want to have to hop in here in the wild card round to take down a wild card team, but Herbert has us in the red zone now. 2nd and 6, just under 5 minutes to play, and a touchdown here would go a long way in ensuring a win. So here's Herbie dropping back, scrambling outside the pocket, almost takes a sack, but delivers a dime to Jalen Waddle for a touchdown. Are you kidding me? It looks like our defense got to stop, and now we're just in ball control mode. And it looks like our running attack with Devon Achane is doing just that, and that's going to be the game. 31-24. Little close for comfort, but I think we probably covered the spread here at home and against Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is the Raiders quarterback. Never thought I'd see that. That's pretty funny. But Herbert, another playoff win. We're back to the divisional round. While I didn't read the bracket right, we were never going to face the Chiefs in round number 2. We have the Indianapolis Colts now. A rematch of last year's divisional game, again on the road. It's time to get our lick back. They are also the defending Super Bowl champions, if I'm remembering correctly here. But we start off with 3 points. Would have loved a touchdown to make a statement. And the Colts are moving it right down the field. Our defense continues to be such a big issue for us in this postseason run. And the Colts again moving it right down the field. It's 14-3. The Colts again couldn't score, and we're trying to get a field goal before half. We do. It's 14-6. Our defense, can we get a stop? We just cannot prevent this Colts team from scoring touchdowns. Can Herbert get us in the end zone finally? He can. But again, our defense can't stop him. Now we are in the red zone. We are going to get a touchdown. We got to get one stop. I'm going to try and get ourselves the ball back. I don't think I've stepped into defense once in this rebuild so far. Well, we got to get one stop here to get the ball back to Herbert underneath here. But the Colts passing there is interesting. We do have all 3 timeouts. It is 2nd and 4. And this time it is going to be a run and a Lee McNeil with a huge play. And now on 3rd and 8, it looks like the Colts are going to pass this one. I'm going to be using the middle of the field here. Their quarterback is under pressure and he's going down. Middle Brooks. This is what legends are made of. 1st and 10 at the 39-yard line, down by 5 in a playoff game. 2-minute drill for Justin Herbert. First pass over the middle of the field, caught for a huge completion or across midfield. Tez Johnson still making a huge impact. Plenty of time, still over a minute and 20 to go. Herbert again dropping back, firing deep. Herbert down the left sideline. It's caught. It is caught by Jalen Waddle. We've been waiting all video to see those in Herbert. He's hyped up. Let's go. This 2-point conversion is also very important. Let's watch it here, see if we can make it a 3-point game. Herbert fires, and it's caught. He is so dialed. And now I'm going to hop in on defense here and ensure we can get ourselves a stop. Still need to prevent them from getting in field goal range, and this first pass here is to Jonathan Taylor. He didn't get out of bounds, though. The Colts did have to use a timeout, but man, talk about defeating narratives there. Justin Herbert with a generational game-winning drive, 2 plays, and that was my man right there. I missed him. The Colts are across midfield already. I just want a negative play. Jonathan Taylor out of the backfield. I'm going to keep him in bounds, though. Oh, they're going to say he got out. Again, trying to get a negative play. Sending another blitz here. Another beautiful play from their quarterback. This guy's really about to walk it down on us. 2 straight years. In the divisional round, I thought we could have had a pick there. Looks like they're kind of playing for a field goal now. Can we maybe get an interception? And that was my guy again. But we couldn't get the pick. And the Colts are actually going to kick it with 18 seconds, which I don't really agree with, because that gives Herbo another 15 seconds. So we actually got to jump on it. And it was no block. How did we get that animation and not block the kick? And now at the 30-yard line, we just need one huge chunk play. We do have a timeout. So I'm going to loft one deep again down the field to one of our star-studded receivers, and it's broken up. We do have time for one more play, but we got to hurry up. Shakir, middle of the field, is open, and I don't know if that's field goal range, but we're at the 40. And we technically are. This is a 57-yarder. Miami Fairbairn. He was money this year for the Texans. Can he walk it off for us in the division round? The kick is up, and it is good. Justin Herbert, another game-winning drive here. 2-in-1 game practically, if our defense could just get one stop. But all that matters is the Miami Dolphins, in dramatic fashion, back-to-back years against the Colts. We're finally moving on to the AFC Championship game. And in stunning fashion, the Cleveland Browns won 41-21 against the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead. And when I show you this Browns team, you might start die laughing, because Jalen Milroe is some generational quarterback. He had 4 touchdowns on the road. Mahomes had 4 picks. Oh my goodness. But when you take a look at this Browns defense, I mean, I can understand why. They have Myles Garrett. They have Abdul Carter as well. So they did not end up trading Garrett away. And of course, Denzel Ward still on that team. But my goodness, this Browns roster is really, really good. And I guess Jalen Milroe just turned into The next, Lamar Jackson. So this is not going to be an easy game, but I think we are at home. We are. So we're hosting the AFC Championship game. We avoid the Kansas City Chiefs. It's all or nothing now. All right, looks like the Browns are starting off with the ball, and what do you know? A team moves it right down the field on us, but Herbert, he's not scared of that vaunted pass rush. It's actually a shootout so far, 14-14. We finally get a defensive stop, and Herbert put up some more points. It's going to be 17-14. The Browns can't score before half, and neither can we. 17-14 at the break. The Browns retake the lead. Herbert now inside the red zone again, makes it 24-21. But I guess I'm going to hop in here, take a look at the Browns, because it's just so funny to see Jalen Milroe as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's actually dicing us, but he's a very polarizing player in this upcoming draft. But I guess shout out the Browns. They really haven't had a good franchise quarterback, really like ever, or at least in recent memory. And oh my goodness, I thought we had the pick. And the penalty is going to be holding on the offense. That's a pretty big bailout there. Well, let's see if we can get a turnover here. That would be huge. And Milroe is going to run, and he's actually very fast, picking up 8 yards there. I don't think we've had one sack when I've been watching or playing. And Jalen Phillips, who we just paid a ton of money, get a stop. And here, outside the numbers to the running back, 3rd and goal. Somebody please make a play. Milroe, he's wide open. Now Herbert could not do anything offensively, but our defense gets a stop. And now it's time to tune in to Herbo, who's developed to be one of the more clutch quarterbacks in the league. And here's some play action. Herbert underneath to Achane. 1st and 10. Herbert almost has 400 yards passing today. And don't forget, this Browns defense, one of the best in the league. I mean, you see those 2 superstar pass rushers, but Herbert said, you know what? I got us. Herbert dropping back again, firing across the field, and it's another first down. I think that's Tez Johnson. 2-minute warning. Officially in the red zone. The Browns do have all 3 timeouts, so I would like to take some clock here. Underneath to Waddle. Another first down. 1st and goal at the 8. Another run here to Achane. I thought he had that. Then we tackled a little bit short. I guess the Browns trust their defense because they're not going to use their timeouts. They're going to try and do a goal line stand here. But Herbert in the empty formation, firing to the end zone. It's caught for a touchdown. Is that Tyler Warren? It is. What another laser beam from Herbo. We take the lead. I failed at this last time, so I'm going to try to have a little bit of redemption here against the Browns and Jalen Milroe. 1st and 10 at the 30-yard line. They do have all 3 timeouts. Can we make a stop? And how did Cox not pick that off? I feel like I've been so close to an interception. I'm feeling one here on this drive. Njoku in motion, and again, he's going to fire it right to my user. But now they're at midfield, 27 seconds. We're just getting no pressure on Milroe whatsoever. We have so many highly paid players and top draft picks on our defensive line, and we just can't get any pressure. Browns another first down. They are basically in field goal range. I'm going to try and manually blitz here and get home, and Milroe just throws it right out of bounds. And the Browns are going to attempt a field goal here. I think this is around 55 yards. I don't know why. They still have 18 seconds, but I iced the kicker, and the kick is up, and it is no good. It is wide right, and the Miami Dolphins, in year number 4, are on their way to the Super Bowl. What a couple of games. This has been a magical run. Milroe passed for 290 and 4 touchdowns, and Herbert threw for 419 and 4 touchdowns. And our Super Bowl matchup is against the Detroit Lions, the number 1 seed, beating the Packers 34-24. This is going to be a good one. And here we are finally in Raymond James Stadium for the Super Bowl, led by our superstar quarterback, Justin Herbert, to face off against the Lions and Jared Goff. Starting things off, our defense got to stop, and Herbert is not going to lead us to any points. It feels like might have missed the field goal there, but 7-0 early. The Lions are going to answer 7-7. We're in the red zone again, 14-7, and the Lions actually cannot take advantage against our defense, which has been pretty vulnerable in this postseason run. But it's 14-7 still in the 4th quarter, 21-7. The Lions went for it on 4th down, and they did not get it. So you know what that means? We are knocking on the door for our first Super Bowl since 1974. I was not even trying to rhyme, but it worked out. And here we go underneath here to Tyler Warren, one of the first picks of this rebuild, and it's a first down. Herbert, again, is over 300 yards. This probably has to be the best postseason run for a quarterback ever. He has 2 games in a row with over 400 yards. And the Super Bowl, about to be another 300-yard game. I mean, he's just been unstoppable. Tez Johnson Another catch. A touchdown here will put this out of reach, and I'm trying to find somebody open. I don't see it. I'm just going to throw it away. Not risk a turnover. But 3rd and 3 here. See if we can find maybe Achane outside of the backfield, and it's swatted away. No real reason to take the field goal. Going to try and go for it. Apply some more pressure. Warren and Johnson on the little mesh concept, and Warren is open again. And Warren is going to rumble to the 1-yard line. And why not pad the stats for Super Bowl MVP? Try and get Herbert his 4th touchdown, and he got it. To Tyler Warren, our safety blanket, and the Miami Dolphins are up 28-7 in the Super Bowl. And the Lions got themselves a garbage time touchdown, but that is it. The Miami Dolphins, led by Justin Herbert in year 4 of him joining the team, we have won ourselves a Super Bowl. Yeah, put a ring on it. And Mike McDaniel, still the head coach here, got himself a ring. And Herbert in number 0, likely winning himself Super Bowl MVP. In the 2028 season recap, Justin Herbert, Super Bowl MVP, the Miami Dolphins, Super Bowl champions. Now, what I usually like to do in my rebuilds is just completely sim the following season after finally winning the Super Bowl to just see if we can go back-to-back. So I'm going to try that again. But first, all these players are going to bring back Pat Cash, one of the best corners in the league. Hez Johnson has been sneakily a really good player for us. I'm going to offer him a deal, and he is going to re-sign with us. Didn't think that was going to happen, actually. I will also bring back our specialist, but outside of that, we really don't have any money left, only $3 million, and we don't really have any holes either on our team. Fairbairn, we don't really have a ton of money to offer him. We'll see if he accepts that, and he said no. Also, just going to go ahead and sim the draft. We'll see if the CPU can cook for us. And taking a quick look at the draft recap, pretty good draft. We did get ourselves another receiver, Devontae Reynolds from Auburn. So I like it overall, pretty good. But here's a quick look at the roster. Herbert somehow did not get a dev trait upgrade for winning Super Bowl MVP. That makes really no sense, but he's still just sitting at a 90 superstar, which doesn't make any sense. Defensively, some of our young players really developing. Chop Robinson is now superstar. Noble is superstar as well, and so is Cox. And for a second, I thought we didn't make the playoffs, but no, we went 13-4, the number 1 seed in the AFC. And let's take a look at the stats because I think Herbert cooked, and he did. 4,600 yards, 43 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Achane over 1,000 yards again. Receiving, Shakir, Waddle, and Warren all over 1,000 yards. Defensively, looks like we had some more sacks this year. We had Lashley leading us with 8, McNeil 7.5, and Phillips really outside of his one Linsanity season hasn't really been the same player for us. But 4 picks for J.C. Horn, 3 for Jair Brown, 3 for Pat Cash. I guess that reminds me, we also should take a look at Tua Tagovailoa's stats this year, and actually a pretty solid season, but again, not as good as Justin Herbert's, and his player tag is officially listed as Bridge QB now, which is kind of funny. In the division round, it is a matchup against the Raiders, who must have won first round matchup. We'll see if we can take them down for 2 years in a row, and we do 45-35, another shootout. Herbert diced him up last year, and he did it again. 4 touchdowns, no interception. We will see if we can take down Mahomes, and I don't know if we did. It didn't show. And we did win 31-21. So we're facing off against the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl this time. And Herbert, another flawless game. Mahomes had 3 picks again. He's been turning over the ball a lot. All the box scores we've been looking at. Cox had a pick, Cash had a pick, and J.C. Horn. All 3 of the guys that led us in picks this year had one in this game. That's huge. And our matchup in the Super Bowl is against the Lions again. So back-to-back years. Let's see if we can take them down and repeat as champions. I haven't done that this year on Madden 25. Can we break kind of the curse, I guess you would say? And we did win 49-14. The Dolphins repeat. Justin Herbert repeats as Super Bowl MVP. And we destroyed them again 2 years in a row. And now I almost want to play out another year and see if we can three-peat. Herbert threw for 395 yards and 5 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. He's just been generational. Now, we do have a lot of players to re-sign, starting off with Tyler Warren, and he does not have a ton of interest in returning. He wants to test free agency for whatever reason, but we're just going to franchise tag him, so he can't. Peter Cox, we do want him back. He's one of the best linebackers in the league. And Herbert is back to the negotiating table, finally superstar X Factor. And for whatever reason, he's just going to get a 1-year deal. I restructured some contracts to just bring back everybody that I can. And JC Horn, he will return. Khalil Shakir on a 3-year deal, kind of hefty, but he's going to come back as well. I had to lower the offer a little bit for Jair Brown, but he's going to sign as well. So really, every single key player is back for us next year. I'm going to send out one more season. See if we can go on a three-peat. I let the CPU draft again, and they filled some more needs, getting us a really good defensive tackle, a really good corner, and not as good of a season this year, only going 10-7, but still made the playoffs. And taking a look at the numbers, and oh my goodness, Justin Herbert had the best season of his career. 4,400 yards, 52 touchdowns to 9 picks. He better have won MVP. Rushing-wise, Achane just under 1,000 yards. And touchdowns, we had 13 from Warren, 15 from Shakir. I mean, this offense was just so good. And defensively, looks like, again, not super great in terms of the pass rush, but picks-wise, still had multiple. I don't have a great feeling that we're going to be able to run the table as a wildcard team, but Herbert has been so great in the postseason. And we did fall to the New York Jets, 22-19. We fall short of our three-peat, but still just an unbelievable year. It looks like Herbert got sacked 7 times and didn't really have his typical performance for us in the playoffs. The Lions finally got back to the Super Bowl and won against the Jaguars, but Justin Herbert didn't win MVP with over 50 touchdowns. It was Anthony Richardson. And his numbers were good, 44 passing touchdowns, and he had 8 on the ground, but I still think Herbert should have won MVP. He got robbed. That also reminds me to take a look at Tua's stats, and it looks like he had himself an abysmal year. 16 touchdowns to 12 picks, 2,600 yards. I think he even got benched for maybe their quarterback of the future, Jace Herman. But that is going to do it for the Miami Dolphins rebuild. If they drafted Justin Herbert and they got themselves 2 Super Bowls, Herbert got 2 Super Bowl MVPs, went down as one of the best playoff performing quarterbacks in NFL history. This was a really fun one. Kind of took longer than I expected, but actually was the most successful rebuild so far that I've had this year. But let me know what you thought about this rebuild concept, and if you want to see some similar ideas in the future, let me know in the comment section down below. But subscribe to the channel if you are new. Drop a like in the video if you did enjoy it, and I'll catch you guys in my next rebuild.